the invitation for us is to remain still open, vulnerable, create the safe place that the world needs, right, for healing. And it stems and it comes from this place that we trust that the world is safe, that the things that are shared on this call is designed to heal the world and help people remember who they are. So I typically begin with a share of what is on my mind and what's going on to kick off the call. And then I'll open it up for anybody that wants to share anything, whatever is coming up. As we share through our own life journeys, each of us gets to relate to it and, take the lessons into our own lives of where we can add compassion, where we have withheld love, and where we still have grievances, right? It's all about forgiveness, and this call is to help us all remember that. So I would love to open it with actually a prayer that I came up with. I wrote for myself and for love, and this is just a prayer I wrote to myself, and then also start with Marianne Williamson's A Year of Miracles. So let me just make sure I have the Zoom thing here. Okay, so Dear God, we hold Alex and love in our hearts, surrounding them with your infinite love and light as they navigate this sacred transition. May they remember their shared purpose to inspire love in the world. Grant them the clarity and peace in their minds, courage to face their ego's illusions, and the strength to always choose love. Let this final dance be a celebration of healing, a release of all darkness, and a testament to your divine plan. May they walk forward individually and together in the certainty that your love abides within them always. Let their journey be a beacon of hope, reminding us all that even in endings, love is eternal. Amen. Okay, so that's that, and we start with Marianne Williamson's A Year of Miracles. We begin here, and I opened it actually today 30, and it says, for reflections on life as a spiral. According to ancient Asian philosophy, life is not a circle but a spiral. Every life lesson has ever been presented to you, which means everything you have ever been through will come back again in some form until you learn it, and the stakes each time will be higher. Whatever you've learned will bear greater fruit. Whatever you fail to learn will bear harsher consequences. Whatever didn't work in your life before this point was a reflection of the fact that you hadn't yet integrated the different parts of yourself. Where you didn't yet accept yourself, you attracted a lack of acceptance in others. Where you hadn't yet dealt with your shadows, you manifested shadowy situations. Broken parts of you encountered broken parts of others. So now you know. That was then, and this is now. Oh man, chills. Marianne Williamson is a freaking wordsmith. I love her and will support her so much in anything that she does. Yeah. So she has guided me so much in my life, navigating through all the hard times, and she, I'm sure, will continue to do so in these times. So I wanted to first, I'll just give a moment to allow in the presence if anybody wants to share anything. If anything is, on your hearts, on your minds that you want to share, please feel free to do so. That's my share to start, and yeah, and we can go into the course. Okay? No pressure. I'll share a little bit more of, what's been going on for me. And so right around New Year's, you guys, we had a New Year's call, New Year's Day call, and I was already going through really challenging things. We had decided that we were gonna, end the marriage as is. It just has not been working. We have not been calling forth the best versions of each other for the last 5 years. And, there was a moment yesterday that, well, let's see. Let me just back up a little bit. On the way back from Salt Lake City after New Year's, we had an amazing conversation at the airport and on the airplane. We talked the entire time. We haven't really even talked that long. I can't even remember in our relationship. And we just talked about what the future can look like. We talked about, how we're both in agreement that a really dark side of us comes out when we're in arguments and stuff. And it's time for us to progress and take things to the next chapter. And one of our really close friends, one of my dear brothers, was like, you guys should do. He witnessed a dissolution ceremony once, and he was like, it was the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. And I'm like, wow, that is exactly what I want to do. It's like everything is a ceremony, everything we can give reverence and gratitude to. So we decided that at Burning Man this year, we will do a dissolution ceremony of our marriage. And in this last 7-8 months, this chapter, we're calling it the final dance. And for me, it's like, let's get rid of all the baggage that we've carried up to this point and really inspire the shit out of everyone. This is the reason why I'm even sharing this now. It's not easy for me to share this publicly. I want to be under a blanket behind the closed door about this. But since I am somebody that does Zoom calls, to not share this would make me feel very inauthentic in those moments and disconnected. So my goal is to double down on connection, double down on the safety of this community, on the safety of the world, of what we want to create. And so this final dance, this last chapter, I look forward to all the lessons that will present itself, but I also look forward to truly honoring her and to make her feel like a goddess, a priestess. So whatever that looks like, I know for sure I am going to overcome and face great adversities and challenges. I know that. And, of course, yesterday, as I was creating this new Trello board for us, if you guys don't know what Trello board is, it's kind of this like project management software, but it's pretty cool. When we first started our relationship, I created a Trello board with, memories of what we've gone through, of letters that we write to each other and pictures that we post and all of those things. And it was so cute and so romantic. It was such a great gesture. And as I was creating a new one yesterday, the old one popped back up. I downloaded Trello again. The old one popped back up. And it was great to see the beginning of that Trello board. And then in 2019, it was just her posting, Babeski, I am so grateful for you, and I'm so glad that we had this experience and next. And she was just documenting. And there was just post after post after post of unread posts, right? And no response from me. That was tremendously hard for me to see. And a part of me just realized how I've not shown up in this relationship, and for the 5-6 years that she has been just going through it, being neglected, being second to work, second to business, second to other people. And then at some point, the the messages just stopped, right? It was kind of just like it stopped. And then sometime this year, actually, there was another post that said, it's been 5 years since I posted. I would love to get this board restarted. And of course, unread. I didn't even have Trello downloaded anymore. So, that really hurt me. And initially, the entire day, I couldn't even gather myself. But I prayed. I prayed a lot. I prayed for a new perspective. I prayed for a new way to look at it. And what I realized was a memory came to me of when I had my heart broken the first time. And not very many people know this, but I tried to take my life during that time. And so the part of me closed off. And I don't know if it ever opened back up. So, my coach one time had said, you are an amazing man and you love and care so much for results and what you want to create in the world. You have great vision. But it's like you keep everybody and everything at an arm's distance, at an arm's length. And I got really defensive. I was like, dude, you don't really know me, right? Okay, maybe, but you've been coaching me for 6 years, but maybe you don't really know me. But also, yesterday, I thought about it. Maybe I don't really know myself. Maybe there's a part of me that has just been hidden, been in the closet. Unwilling to come out, unwilling to share the full strength and the full power of my heart. And so another thought was shit, Alex, you have moved freaking mountains. You've moved people. You've inspired people. And you did it with all of this power still reserved. Unable to feel deeply and connected to people in a deeper way. So, as I was praying, it was shown to me that this was what it was all for. And this curiosity, this awe of, wow, God had to put all of these things in place. And love had a soul contract with me to suffer for this period of time just so I can freaking remember who I am. I immediately deepened my connection and understanding of what the Course has been trying to teach me this whole time too. That yes, there is heaven and there is earth, and neither the vision of one will always cost you the vision of the other. But we don't live in heaven right now. So it's about becoming the bridge. When I was younger, when I left the Catholic side of my family, when I just kind of renounced it, and I really started to study Buddhism, and there was a title, the Bodhicitta. And the Bodhicitta is a being that has delayed returning to nirvana or heaven, so that he or she may come back as a saint, as a guide to bring other people, to guide other people through. That means this bodhicitta, and I've always been super curious, and I think the path that I've taken in my life has been inspired just by that learning when I was 8 years old. Whether I know it or not, that has always been in the back of it, because I always knew what that was. I always knew that, Jesus was a bodhicitta, right? Just coming back to show us the way, to whatever it takes, to remember heaven, but to play on earth. To know heaven is to know peace, is to know love. And then you can play here on the earth with no judgments. And I realized all these years of practice, I needed this relationship. I needed love. Of course, her name is Love also, right? I needed love to teach me love. To truly teach me, to embody it, not just intellectually understand it. That to feel something deeply is to embody it, is to allow it to become you, is to be love. To feel love is to be love. And so for such a long time, I had so much, I didn't even know this. I didn't even know this till yesterday. I had judgment on feelings. Every time someone tells me about feelings, I'm like, look, feelings are a product of your belief systems and all the stuff that you carried. Feelings are paper thin and they come and go, so don't give too much of your thought to it. It's like I renounced earth but still living here on earth. That disconnect actually has me further away from the truth than to truly accept feelings and to allow feelings to be a teacher. Right? So I am committed on a whole nother way now. And I wanted to declare it in this community. Right? That a new version of me, a more awakened version of Alex has come. And so yeah, it's going to be really hard. I've been struggling. It's going back and forth. Sometimes I can't keep myself together. Other times I'm in great clarity. I understand exactly what's going on. That, wow, this plan that has been laid out for me and for everyone that is going to be impacted by this, by the final dance. And all who will witness the ceremony, we will change the world. And I'm excited for that. And I know the vision, I understand that vision actually is what truly is going to carry us forth. Because we've had multiple times where communication has actually kind of clashed a little bit. But we've been able to return back to love very fast. This care for each other's hearts. And yeah, so I wanted to declare that here, and I wanted to share with this community. I want to share with anybody that is watching that, this is where I'm at, and, hold me accountable to this, right? I'm declaring it to the world. I always said, if you want to get some quick and fast results, declare it on Facebook or declare it on Instagram, because you'll have people hold you accountable. You are making a declaration in front of witnesses. And yeah, so thank you guys for that. Thank you for being that. And we are in chapter 11. Of course, God or the ego. Like what? This is exactly what I'm experiencing, And so, yeah, we'd love to just, if anybody feels compelled to share anything, you can do so, or we can start reading.
Yeah, I'd love to share.
Yeah.
Going through a similar situation almost 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was really, really tough. And even trying to jump into another relationship during that period, I didn't feel like I was myself, who I needed to be. And so I haven't been in a relationship. I haven't sought any kind of relationship in with a woman. And it's really helped me to see myself and how much I haven't loved myself. And I can feel your pain, and I truly can. And I pray that God keeps you in His warm embrace and you and love. And yeah, thank you for your share, and thank you for always being there. Like without the experiences that I've had, I would have never been able to meet you, and that's something we can always look forward to, is the love that we get to connect with new people and new experiences from all of the experiences that we've had. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that, brother. Kayla.
Wow. First of all, just thank you so much for your vulnerability. And yeah, I see you. I feel you so deeply. I went through a similar transition a few years ago with my past partner, and I just want to say it's really beautiful the direction that you guys are choosing to take. And I wish that could have, that I could have, that me and my, past partner could have taken that direction. And I think you guys are going to definitely make a big impact in that. And just like remaining in the frequency of love and just like being still, allies and friends and throughout that. And I feel so grateful to have witnessed you over this last year and um, been invited into close circles with you and just be on this path of creation and just everything that's to come. And yeah, I just wanted to share how I resonate so deeply with everything that you shared, and it's an honor to be here on this call and in your life, and thank you for not holding back and being vulnerable. It's beautiful to witness.
Thank you. Love you so much.
I love you.
All right, Connor.
That is so powerful, everything you've shared. And I love how you've been reframing it to a lesson. Just going back to, with every challenge comes that seed of equal or greater opportunity. And I can tell that you're going to get through this. And I'm sorry that it's all happening, and I'm glad that you're learning. I'm in that process of like, I have some toxic people, and I'm like, what pattern am I bringing up? And this whole conversation just really inspired me to go back to love and to go back to it's all going to work out. So thank you, and thank you for being so vulnerable.
Yeah, thank you. Jill, hi.
Hi, Alex. Hi, everybody. Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for this, and thank you for your openness and sharing it with this group. And marriage sometimes, my second marriage after the love of my life, Lee, died. Sometimes I think what happens is there's so much weight involved with that piece of paper, and it has so many preconceived ideas associated with it that have been carried on for centuries and eons, that puts so much pressure on each of the parties to perform in a prescribed way that may not be in harmony with how we really feel. And I think it puts, like I say, a lot of pressure on us. And I know my second marriage dissolved just because of the piece of paper. Literally, that was why it dissolved. And I think if we hadn't had that, it would have been a lot easier. And I think that what it opens up for you is such a new, awesome opportunity. It didn't happen with me with my second husband because he wasn't open to that new possibility. But I think with you in love, it does. And I think it's going to take a lot of pressure off of you both. And thank you really a lot for sharing with us on this call and being so vulnerable. I feel for you. I feel, I just feel it. And for you both, because it is so hard and so difficult because it feels, what happens, like for me, what happened when my second marriage failed was that I felt like a failure. I felt sort of like there was a lot of expectation, and I felt like all of this sort of hope and all of these, again, preconceived notions just dissolved. And but Look at you. Look at you, what you're doing. It's glorious and fantastic. And you inspire our group every time you speak, making this declaration and this share on this call is, like you say, witnessing by 28 people today and probably 100 people in your community right out of the gate. And you guys have an amazing opportunity because, as I always say, we're now creating the new clear family as opposed to the nuclear family.
Nice.
This is a space of clarity. So thanks for being so clear and open with all of us.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I love the word that you use, glorious. This is going to be freaking glorious. And yeah, so hopefully you guys all come to Burning Man. It's my small plug into that. Go ahead, Helen.
Thanks, Alex. It's fabulous. I love, your explanations are always so clear. What I was feeling when you were talking is that Alex is starting to catch up with Alex. You know what it's like to be in the heaven realm, and now the earthly realm is starting to catch up with you. And I love the declaration, the commitment, and I feel that when one does that, it's so much helpful to get through these the rest of the time, the next step. So kudos to you, Alex. Amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Anybody else like to share any thoughts? So, again, I think the Course is always teaching us to remember love. It isn't here to teach us love. The Course says that love is beyond what can be taught. But we could, through the experiences and the feelings of what we're doing here in this 3D earthly world, to remove all the blockages to love, to the awareness of love, all the blockages to the awareness of love. That means in moments of conflict and in moments of arguments and when we're scared and when we're in scarcity, those are showing us the blockages. Marianne Williamson perfectly put it that every time we do not learn the lesson, it will come back to us with more at stake. With more at stake, the pain will be harder. I obviously did not learn my lesson the first time around. I pray that I learn my lesson this time around. I pray that what we're doing, this dissolution ceremony, the final dance, I hope that the amount of love in that will shine away all darknesses in every corner of my mind and every corner of my heart. And that those that witness it will always remember forever. We talked about the end of the last chapter was talking about the spark. That in many, the light, the great ray is gone. I'll read it just, I guess really fast, is in many, only the spark remains, for the great rays are obscured. Yet God has kept the spark alive so that the rays can never be completely forgotten. If you but see the little spark, you will learn of the greater light, for the rays are there unseen. Perceiving the spark will heal, but knowing the light will create. Yet in the returning, the little light must be acknowledged first, for the separation was the descent from magnitude to littleness. But the spark is still as pure as the great light, because it is the remaining call of creation. Put all your faith in it, and God himself will answer you. And of course, we read this right before we decided to end the marriage. It was like, and as I was reading that Trello board of just her posting with so many unanswered messages that just broke my heart as I was reading it, I was like, there's nothing left. The light is gone. It even ended July 19th. July 19th. July 2029. I mean 2019, sorry. July 2019, last post by her, boom, the light was shut. Right? And so yeah, in that moment I'm like, the great rays are gone, but there is still a spark. Because the great rays is not determined by us. Love is not determined by us if it exists in any given moment. It is always there. Just because we can't see it, just because we've forgotten it, does not mean it is not there. So we have to focus on the little sparks. What is left? What can I see? And if we can focus on the spark, the hope, this is why the course is about faith. Faith is the little tiny remembering in our mind that God is still here walking with us. That we are still walking each other home every single moment. It might look like some chaos between two people. It might look like a dissolution of a marriage. It might look like the beginning of a relationship. Right? All of that is, we can find, it's the spark, it's the hope for humanity. It's the remembering that we will all return home at some point. And so in every scenario, we can still see the spark. This is why the Course says, choose to see the spark. Christ consciousness. Christ, the anointed one. It's not Jesus, right? Christ is the anointed one. Christ is in all of us. We are all anointed. God walks in all of us. So in every situation, in everything, God exists. Love exists. Now, pray, even yesterday, every single day I deepen my relationship to prayer. Even in that time when I couldn't even control myself. I was randomly driving, I would just bawl. And to be able to pray in those moments and to be shown something different, to be shown this divine plan. Like, I literally had an image of, like, all this time I've been studying the Course in Miracles, I had this connection to God, right? This like thin, like, pipe or like electrical line, whatever you want to call it. And as I was being shown yesterday, like, revealed God's plans right here in front of me. And the plan is so simple. The plan is like, remember who the fuck you are and trust in me. And then all of a sudden that, like, image of the connection to the pipe became like this big. It was like, and I was like, then my prayer goes into, please let me keep this experience. And then immediately, boom, it shut down. It was so interesting. Like, in this moment, Rise, what's up, brother? Welcome. So, like, in that moment, like, because I was giving it over, I was like, great. And then, like, when I started to ask for something, right, like, I want this moment. Let me keep this moment. And God was like, nope, it ain't here anymore. Right? It was a really interesting experience. What I was getting at, Christ consciousness. To see, we can choose, like, when God is on our mind, when love is on our mind, we will see that in the world everywhere. When God and love is on my mind, when I have that level of clarity, when love and I are having our conversations, there's no judgment. There's no scarcity. There's no contraction. I don't feel that. But then we were talking about, like, whatever else. We were talking about other things that all of a sudden created this, like, scarce moment. And I can feel myself tense up. And I know the ego is here in this moment, right? And it's literally us fighting each other about something. And we were able to return back to vision, to the purpose. If we are to inspire people, we cannot play small. Like, let's remind each other to play bigger. Let's not use the past to limit what is possible now, and let's not use the past to dictate the future. And that's what the Course says. The Course says, you have no freaking idea what even happened in the past. You thought these things were happening because you didn't see it with loving eyes. You saw it with loveless eyes. And so you saw fear. You saw separation. You saw conflict. You remember all the bad things that's happening or that happened. And you bring it into this moment to try to protect your heart, which is what I did. She didn't even really have a fair shot in this marriage because my heart was already closed and I didn't even know. I went through personal development training. I went through all these things. I thought it was open, that I was good. You know, and so I didn't learn my lesson the first time around. And so the consequences are bigger this time. Right? The consequences are bigger. It's messier. There's a lot more moving parts. But I could learn the lesson this time around. Then the rewards become greater. You know, so the Course says that the only things to be brought to the present moment are loving thoughts and experiences of love that you had. That's it. Because you actually saw and perceived the past correctly there. Anything else you bring to the present moment, you had no idea what was even happening. You turned it into a trauma. You turned it into a story to justify your behavior today. Right? So now, all of this, obviously, is high level. And our goal is to join heaven and earth. It's to bring the yin and the yang together, the father and the mother. Right? To flow in that space, to know when to use 3D earthly things in a way to serve us. Because the Course also says, everything in life can be used as a teaching device, as a learning device. Really, that's what anything on earth is for. Is a learning device, but you have to remember something. You have to remember the question that you're asking. First, the question is, what is it for? The second question is, who is my Father? And when I say Father, you can also say, who is my God? Now, there are two. The Course says there's only two. One is the ego, and one is God. We all have made God of something that is not God, right? But when we say, who is my Father? That means the Father births, or the Father creates the Son, or creates you. But you created the ego, so how can the ego even be your Father? Right? So this is what the Course is teaching us. Like, write that perspective first. And if you can write that perspective, you can see the rest of the world clearly. So know heaven, be on earth, play on earth, but know heaven. Right? Now, maybe a part of me was know heaven, playing in heaven, renouncing earth, which I'm here on earth, which created a major disconnect for me. And so somebody had asked what was the declaration, but that's the declaration. The declaration is that the new version of Alex, the more awakened version, will come forth from here on now. One that feels deeper, the one that's more compassionate, more kind. Another thing that came up, it was late last night. I was like, because of this renouncement of earthly stories and traumas, I tend to quickly dismiss other people's challenges and problems and stories and all of that. And Love was like, yeah, that was my experience the entire relationship. She would talk about astrology. I'd be like, oh, okay, great. She would talk about medicines for her body and things about her sleep and this and that. I'm like, oh, great. She would talk about, the challenges and the pains. I'm like, well, just pray and be grateful, right? Like, it was so dismissive, and I'm thinking about it right now, like, just, oh my God. Like, I'm teaching and learning and studying A Course in Miracles for all this time, talking about non-judgment and recognizing that, wow, I have been the biggest judge. Now, here is what God also said to me. God was like, because my experience from that moment was like, wow, what a fraud, number one. Guilt, shame, all this stuff came up. Moments of I will not run A Course in Miracles ever again came up. Right? Like so many of these just smallness. The ego is like, be freaking small. And God was like, what was it all for? Ask the right question. And so I'm like, okay, what is it for? It's for you to wake up. Remember who you are. Remember what you're doing here. Bring more heart, bring more soul so that you may awaken your brothers and sisters. So that was my lesson. And I'm sure there will be so many more. And I will vacillate back and forth. And I hope that this community remembers for me also. Hold me accountable. This is why I'm sharing it. I was like, do I share it? Do I not share it? You know, for freaking ever. And then Crystal actually yesterday said, how do you bring more vulnerability into your community? I was like, fuck, okay, fine. I will do it. You know, and yeah, that's my, now you guys played, you guys are in here, in my mind, in my heart. And so, yeah, thank you. Thank you for holding this beautiful space for me here today as I kind of just vomit a whole bunch of things on everyone. And hopefully it was supportive. Go ahead, Michelle.
Hi, Alex.
Hey.
Thank you for being vulnerable. That is very hard to do in this particular situation. I think sometimes I can resonate with some of the things that you said just based on feedback I get from people. And I wonder if, like, throughout, some of these things are defense mechanisms that we have built up. Because, like, meaning trying to protect your heart so you know, your heart wasn't open to love, if you will. So, I don't know, I guess that resonates with me as, trying to maybe, I don't know if it's, yeah, I guess it's just, it resonated with me that you know, sometimes I think that I also like put a like people have told me I don't really, I'm vulnerable to you know, and I'm sharing and things like that, but I never open up my heart. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that is, I think it's a defense mechanism that I put up when I was a child, given based on, you know, my mother and my relationship with her, and probably not wanting to be hurt. So, you know, especially like in intimate relationships. So yeah, there's certain things that you're kind of triggering in me. And the other one that resonated with me is that if you're not learning, you know, if you don't like learn your lesson the first time it comes around with kind of bigger stakes, if you will, I feel that way. That I've heard that before from a friend of mine, and so I'm trying to be awakened by certain things as well. And you know, this community and a cause helped me as well. You know, and you know, I even have another thing with my two sisters. You know, they always think I'm speaking down to them, and it hurts my feelings. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, like, I think I'm better than them, and I'm like, do you know how hard I work every day on trying to be a better person? I get so angry with them, and I'm like, oh, it's just you guys, you know, no one else. So anyhow, there was about 3 things that resonated with me. So again, thank you for sharing and being vulnerable, because I think in this world today we need more of that from men as well, you know. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And all of these things, like this defense around the heart, that is the barriers that the Course is talking about, the barriers that you have This is how you withhold love in the world. This is how you withhold your power and your light from the world, by trying to protect yourself because you once upon a time had a perception that you got hurt. See, this is what the Course is saying. We have to do the forgiveness process starts by going back to, I didn't actually get hurt. I just perceived something. Everyone trying their best. Forgiveness leads to the gratitude. The gratitude allows us to now look at the defense mechanism that we actually built. See, sometimes we have no idea what we built, and we just know it's there. And then we're like, what's the source of this thing? What's it made out of? Right? And this is what the Course says. You got to look. What is this for? What was this barrier for? What was created by it? Because we've created it, and we actually don't even know where it came from. And we try to, since it's here, now I got to reinforce and defend the fact that I have it. That's the ego's insanity. Spirit's like, here you go. You can just give it to me, and I'll do it. Since you created it and you don't know why you created it, you're obviously going to value it. And because you value it, you make up all this story about this wall. Spirit's like, you don't need to purify it. You don't even need to figure it out. Just give it over to me, and I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it's for. You know? And it's really, really beautiful when we're able to do that. And in these times of like deep feelings, and I hope that I can continue to express from this deep place, the depth that I've recently just kind of refound again, and that it would provide and be of service to all of you, that you guys can look to it and then reflect back to me, and then we'll heal together. Yeah, so it's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Michelle, and thank you for also acknowledging that. You know, it's first is the awareness. Go ahead, Crystal. You gotta unmute though, you know.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to speak into when you said I was talking to you about how can you become more vulnerable, right? And I felt resistance in you when I said that. And I even pulled back because I knew it was going to a touchy place. But I want to commend you because what you have brought today to this call, to myself, to everyone here listening, has been nothing but a miracle and a beautiful, beautiful sharing. I mean, I've been on several of these calls, but not many at all. So by no means can I look at all the calls, but this to me has been the most touching, and I've had moments of self-reflection and crying tears just in this call, and really feeling into, you know, what you're going through, because you've been so open and vulnerable, and it's so powerful. So I am excited to see this new you and coming into play, and how many more lives and people that you can touch on that next level. So thank you so much for really stepping into that. It's amazing, and it's helped me just awaken that part inside of me that is still, you know, has still that shadow. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. Oh, what time is it? Okay. Well, anybody else want to share anything? We have not a lot to read, but just a little bit. Yeah, I might just read the introduction and section 1. Okay. So as we get ourselves ready to read and receive from the Course itself, you know, it's been such an epic call here today. Thank you so much for giving me the space, to create it. This space has been created over the course of all these past months of everyone being here and all these years actually been running these calls, that I would feel safe enough to share what I share today. So this is like so much immense gratitude to all of you who has been holding this container. And even if you haven't really been on this call and you have been, watching from the outside, if you have been seeing it on the lives, if you're a part of our WhatsApp community and just witnessing the chats, like everything that all of you guys do to curate this container matters. So, yeah, thank you. Okay, so we'll read chapter 11, go into the introduction and the section 1. This is, every time we read, I want to invite us to take all of our thoughts, everything that we thought we knew, everything that we experienced in our lives. Let's take it, put it in a bag. We'll put it on a shelf for now. We'll decide what to do with it later. But allow yourself to return to a place of no thing, let's call it. No thing and no mind. And let's just see what comes. All right, so the words from Christ to Helen Schuckman to, whoever printed this book, to me reading it, to you, and then to wherever else it goes to, the ripple effect of this. Let's see if we can begin to experience what that is and download the information that's meant for each one of us. Okay. Chapter 11, Ego, or God or the Ego. Introduction. Either God or the ego is insane. If you will examine the evidence on both sides fairly, you will realize this must be true. Neither God nor the ego proposes a partial thought system. Each is internally consistent, but they are diametrically opposed in all respects, so that partial allegiance is impossible. Remember, too, that their results are as different as their foundations, and their fundamentally irreconcilable nature cannot be reconciled by vacillations between them. Nothing alive is fatherless, for life is creation. Therefore, your decision is always an answer to the question, who is my father? And you will be faithful to the father you choose. Yet, what would you say to someone who believes this question really involves conflict? If you made the ego, how can the ego have made you? The authority problem is still the only source of conflict because the ego was made out of the wish of God's Son to father him. The ego then is nothing more than a delusional system in which you made your own father. Make no mistakes about this. It sounds insane when it is stated with perfect honesty, but the ego never looks on what it does with perfect honesty. Yet, that is its insane premise, which is carefully hidden in the dark cornerstone of its thought system. And either the ego which you made is your father, or the whole thought system will not stand. You make by projection, but God creates by extension. The cornerstone of God's creation is you, for his thought system is the light. Remember the rays that are there unseen. The more you approach the center of his thought system, the clearer the light becomes. The closer you come to the foundation of the ego's thought system, the darker and more obscure becomes the way. Yet even the little spark in your mind is enough to lighten it. Bring this light fearlessly with you, and bravely hold it up to the foundation of the ego's thought system. Be willing to judge it with perfect honesty. Open the dark cornerstone of terror on which it rests and bring it out into the light. There you will see that it rested on meaninglessness, and that everything of which you have been afraid was based on nothing. My brother, you are part of God and part of me. When you have at last looked at the ego's foundation without shrinking, you will also have looked upon yours. I come to you from our Father to offer you everything again. Do not refuse it in order to keep a dark cornerstone hidden, for its protection will not save you. I give you the lamp, and I will go with you. You will not take this journey alone. I will lead you to your true Father, who hath need of you as I have. Will you not answer the call of love with joy? The gifts of fatherhood. You have learned your you have learned your need of healing. Would you bring anything else to the sonship, recognizing your need of healing for yourself? For in this lies the beginning of the return to knowledge, the foundation on which God will help build again the thought systems you share with him. Not one stone you place upon it, but will have been blessed by him. For you will be restoring the holy dwelling place of his Son, and he wills his Son to be and where he is. In whatever part of the mind, the God's Son, you restore this reality, you restore it to yourself. You dwell in the mind of God with your brother, for God himself did not will to be alone. To be alone is to be separated from infinity. But how can this be infinity? How can this be infinity has no end? No one can be beyond the limitless, because what has no limits must be everywhere. There are no beginnings and no endings in God, whose universe is himself. Can you exclude yourself from where the universe, or God, who is the universe? I and my Father are one with you, and you are part of us. Do you really believe that part of God can be missing or lost to him? If you were not part of God, his will would not be unified. Is this conceivable? Can part of his mind contain nothing? If your place in his mind cannot be filled by anyone except you, and your filling it was your creation, without you there will be an empty place in God's mind. Extension cannot be blocked, and it has no voids. So one of the prayers in A Course in Miracles is actually that God is incomplete without you. So if you ever have like unworthiness and, who am I to do this type of conversations, this part is speaking to that, the gifts of the fatherhood, knowing that God's mind is incomplete without you. And God is complete. So you must be complete in that space. That space is not empty. It continues forever, however much it is denied. Your denial of its reality may rest in time, but not in eternity. So right now you could deny it, right? Just because you deny what is there doesn't mean you are not there. But not in eternity. That is why your creations have not ceased to be extended, and why so much is waiting for your return. Waiting is possible only in time, but time has no meaning. You who made delay can leave time behind simply by recognizing that neither beginnings nor ends were created by the Eternal, who placed no limits on his creation or upon those who created like him. You do not know this simply because you have tried to limit what he created, and so you believe that all creation is limited. How then could you know your creations, having denied infinity? The laws of the universe do not permit contradiction. What holds for God holds for you. If you believe you are absent from God, you will believe that he is absent from you. Infinity is meaningless without you, and you are meaningless without God. There is no end to God and his Son, for we are the universe. God is not incomplete, and he is not childless, because he did not will to be alone. He created a Son like himself. Do not deny him his Son, for your willingness to accept his fatherhood has denied you yours. See his creations in his Son, for yours were created in honor of him. The universe of love does not stop because you do not see it, nor have your closed eyes lost the ability to see. Look upon the glory of his creation, and you will learn what God has kept for you. God has given you a place in his mind that is yours forever, yet you keep it only by giving it as it was given you. Could you be alone there when it was given you because God did not will to be alone? God's mind cannot be lessened it can only be increased, for everything he creates has the function of creating. Love does not limit, and what it creates is not limited. To give without limit is God's will for you, because only this can bring you the joy that is his and that he wills to share with you. Your love is as boundless as his because it is his. Could any part of God be without his love? And could any part of love be contained? God is your heritage because his one gift is himself. How can you give except like him if you would know his gift to you? Give then without limit and without end to learn how much he has given you. Your ability to accept him depends on your willingness to give as he gives. Your fatherhood and your Father are one. God wills to create, and your will is his. It follows then that you will create, since your will follows his. And being an extension of his will, yours must be the same. What you will, you do not know. This is not strange when you realize that to deny is to not know. God's will is that you are his son. By denying this, you deny your own will and therefore do not know what it is. Oh, people are waiting in the room. Sorry. You must ask what God's will is in everything because it is yours. You do not know what it is, but the Holy Spirit remembers it for you. Ask him, therefore, what God's will is for you, and he will tell you yours. It cannot be too often repeated that you do not know it. Whenever what the Holy Spirit tells you appears to be coercive, it is only because you have not recognized your will. The projection of the ego makes it appear as if God's will is outside yourself and therefore not yours. In this interpretation, it seems possible for God's will and yours to conflict. God then may seem to demand of you what you do not want to give and thus deprive you of what you want. Would God, who wants only your will, be capable of this? Your will is his life, and he has given to you. Even in time, you cannot live apart from him. Sleep is not death. What he created can sleep, but cannot die. Immortality is his will for his son, and his son's will for himself. God's son cannot will death for himself because his father is life, and his son is like him. Creation is your will because it is his. So just kind of, it keeps going into this, like it repeats the word will a lot and creation a lot. So basically what it's saying in this section right now is that God's will is your will. And God wills you to create like he creates. Anytime that you don't see that, you have denied it, but it does not mean you're not still part of it. Right? So our goal is simply to remove ourselves, right? Like in all situations, we can say that we don't have what we want because we are in our own way. That's one. Two, we don't have what we want because we don't actually know what we want. Right? So these two things, like understanding that, like, if you can give over to God, you will understand what he wills for you, and that is your will for yourself too. So then our connection and our remembering is, what does God will for me? And so God wills for you to be like him, which is to create and extend love. And the way that we create and extend love is to give it. That's the way creation is done in God's laws. In the mind of God is that in order to have something, in order to experience something, in order to extend something, we must give it away. That is how extension works. But for us, we go into, in order for me to have, I must keep. And because I have this idea of keeping, I'm afraid that it will be lost. And so anytime that I have to give something, it comes from a place of what I'm afraid that I'm going to lose. So the Course says that any situation in which you experience lack is any disturbances or any challenges is what you are unwilling to give. Right? So all lack is what you are unwilling to give. That's what the Course says. And so, yeah, that's what this section is really telling us, that the gift of the fatherhood is just for you to remember it so that you may gift it out. You may give freely and experience the gift. The way you give love, if you give love, this is how you will keep it. Not by building a wall so that nothing hurts you, right? That's what we think we're doing. That's how I did it, right? It's not to build a wall, because all that does is keep love from entering. The experience of love doesn't exist, right? So, you are asked to trust the Holy Spirit because he speaks for you. He is the voice of God, but never forget that God did not will to be alone. He shares his will with you. He does not thrust it upon you, but always remember that what he gives, he keeps, so that nothing he gives can contradict him. Right? Again, this, what you give, you keep. This is a very foreign concept to the ego and to the world. You know, you who share his life must share it to know it. For sharing is knowing. Sharing is knowing. Giving is having. Like, this requires us to put this thing upside down from what we have here on earth. Blessed are those who learn that to hear the will of the Father is to know your own. For it is your will to be like him, whose will it is that to be so. God's will is that his Son be one and united with him in his oneness. That is why healing is the beginning of recognition that your will is his. So it is a Course in Miracles. Like, this section is not an easy section to read. And this is why we're doing it together. Even sometimes for me, if I am in scarcity or pain or the ego is coming up, that is hard to understand. Right? But for us to do it here together in this space, it's a constant reminder of that this is love, this is safe, and it's easier for us to understand the Course together. So yeah, that's that section. Tasnova, yay, welcome. Yeah, I think, oh shit, local recording has stopped because you were out of space on the thing. Oh, uh-oh. Well, hopefully it is still recorded on Facebook and you can still watch it. Yeah, it was a really good beginning, and thank you for all the support that you have been the last couple days too. I know you couldn't make it to the beginning of this call, but it went on anyways. All right, open for shares. We have another 19 minutes or so to be together in this way. And then, who knows?
I'd like to share.
Yeah, please.
What I was feeling from the words is like how there are a lot of places where I've actually held myself back because of previous beliefs or previous past feelings about something, like the struggles that I've had over the last few years. I feel I've been like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? And now I'm looking at it, it's because I'm holding on to the past. It's because I'm continually going, I'm afraid to move forward. So how do I stop being afraid of moving forward by letting go of the past?
Mm-hmm. So, yes, and here's the thing too, right? Like, awareness is all that is needed, actually. You don't actually need to do anything, right? To get to a certain place, even let's say if you want to be as successful, let's say if you want to be like Warren Buffett, right? To be that successful. You financially, it's not about replicating and doing what he did. That's less important than recognizing who he was being to get there. Right? And that's the awareness to the conversations that's been holding us back. And because when you have awareness to certain things that are unrelated, you realize that you built this wall off of a misperception of something. And here's the misperception. I built a wall because I was heartbroken, right? But that heartbreak was not love. That heartbreak was a ego's version of love, which was possessive. The Course actually labels as specialness. In specialness, that is ego's version of love, where giving and receiving are happening separately, right? I give, I need to get something back. I give, I need to get something back. And then the ego, because the ego is always about itself, is like what I'm giving, even if we're exchanging the same $1 for $1, $1 for $1, it becomes my $1 is prettier, my $1 is more taken care of, I've set more intentions with my $1, your $1 is just worth less now. It's easier for you to get. We make up the story that we dismiss the other side, right? So now we're still trading $1 for $1, but my $1 has more weight because the ego just does that. And then from that, see, all it was $1, $1 was trading. It's funny, I've never used this analogy before, so bear with me. $1 and $1 is being traded, and you're like, well, I feel like I'm being drained. I feel like I'm giving more away. I feel like my tank and my cup is empty now. And because of that, see this what word am I looking for? This distortion of what is going on. I now am going to build a wall because I feel like I was hurt and betrayed because your dollar actually is worth less than my dollar. And now because we created this conflict, you hurt me. I'm building this wall. That's all we've been doing in the past. And so again, like I was sharing earlier, it's like now that this wall is here, it's unconscious. And for me, I built this wall. I didn't even know that. Now love doesn't even have a chance in this marriage, right? That I didn't know I was doing everything with a wall in between us. So everything's more disconnected, right? And then I'm like, okay, well, here's a wall. I'm looking at this wall. How was it made? Where was it made? No freaking clue. Right? But since the wall is here, then I must defend it since I made it. And that's why the Course says you cannot take this wall down yourself. Because you don't know where the source of it even is. You've been playing around this wall this whole time. You have no idea what life is like without the wall. So you can't undo this wall. You made it. The only way our salvation lies in truly saying this wall is just getting in the way. I have an awareness that this wall is here and it actually doesn't serve. Why do I have to walk around this wall every time? Why do I have to speak to somebody through this wall every single time? See, that's the insanity that the Course is pointing to, right? And we're like, well, I don't want to get hurt, so I need this wall behind me. So I can't even see the other person. I don't even want to see the dollar and all this stuff. So I'm not going to get hurt. Like, that's just insane, right? And so the Course says, hey, just give it to me. I mean, the Holy Spirit's like, just give it to me. I'll do something with the wall. You go home, okay? You don't need to purify. You don't even need to help me. You need to say, stop protecting this wall, stop valuing this wall, and go home. Go home. I will do something with this wall. That's the place we need to give from. Not like, God, do something with this wall, but I'm going to supervise you doing it. I'm going to tell you which bricks you can remove first. That's literally what we do with all of our shit. And then we just sit there day in and day out, year after year, supervising God taking this wall down. And here and there, we take a brick out and we take this brick out. And we're like, oh shit, that's still not safe. I don't want to see them. Put that brick back. we have no idea what the source of it even was. Right? So this is the forgiveness process, is to say, man, I valued this thing for so long, and thank you, God, for this forgiveness process. I forgot what it was like without this wall. And so I'm going to forgive myself for forgetting. I'm going to allow myself to walk home and let you do something with this wall. That's giving it over. And then you're going to realize, oh, there's no wall. Oh, cool. This is what the other person actually looks like in front of me. This is what they're saying. I can actually hear. I can see them. You know, that's what we're doing. That's all that's happening. This is the forgiveness process. This is what the Course says. Love is beyond what can be taught. God cannot teach you to do it. You have to do it. You can only look at the barriers in which you have created to the awareness of love, to the awareness of what it looks like without this barrier. So you can look at it, and now it's time to do something with it. All right. So yeah, that's the story of the wall. I should probably write that down somewhere and put that somewhere. That was actually really great. Okay, Helen. Hello.
This chapter really, this piece really hit hard for me. Yeah, so my whole life I've been overweight, in my entire life, and I knew at some point in my life that this is my purpose in life, was to deal with this overweight issue. And pretty interesting enough, when I read the will of God in this chapter, will is capitalized.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody used to tell me I don't have any willpower. And I knew, first of all, didn't know what willpower was. And second of all, I took it as a weakness. I'm weak, and they were calling it willpower. And so when I saw this, it made so much sense to me. His will, I was ignoring his will. I was not part of God's will all those years, and I was just eating my way through it. You know, it's fascinating. Fascinating.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
So I'm very happy to hear about that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have one other thing I wanted to say.
Yes, please.
I'm a little nervous about saying this. So I know that you asked to be held accountable for things. So I'm gonna bust you up a little bit here.
Sure.
All right. So I just wanted to make a point that your wife is already a princess. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
The words you used was, I'm gonna make her a princess.
I said I'm going to make her experience goddess and
You
priestess.
were gonna make her a princess.
Okay, well, yes, then. You're right.
I'm almost sure that's what happened. So as soon it struck like an antenna went up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry, Alex.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Point that out. It's a good reminder.
There's a guru. Her name is Guru Mai, and she had an event New Year's Day, and that's what she does all the time to her people. She just busts them up like that sometimes, you know. So I'm relating to her in that respect now.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, she's great. All right. Hey, Jill.
Hi again. I'm at my job, so I get interrupted, but I heard the beginning part of the reading, and what occurred to me is expansion. And you, by sharing very vulnerably with this group, were actually practicing expansion. And love itself is that expansion. So congratulations. Thank you for sharing with all of us again. I've thanked you a few times now. But it was in relevancy to the reading. When we hold back, we're actually denying love. And there are often times when we don't share because of our fear, and because of fear of judgment, or fear of especially judgment. And so congratulations for being so open and sharing with us, because that creates that expansion, which allows for expansion on all levels, not just for ourselves or you, but just a much bigger expansion. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Morgan. Hi, my friend.
Hello. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry for the raspy voice. It's just, I had a coughing attack and I'm a little under the weather. I want to thank you for sharing earlier. And then I also really want to thank you for the dollar story. I'm learning about the law of receiving right now. And this course always is exactly what I need to hear. And tell us if that's what it does, right? And I'm learning about the law of receiving, and the dollar stories really made that make so much sense. Of like, we're giving a dollar, and we feel like we're giving more. We feel like it's more an more important dollar, a better dollar. And having the fear of giving is really just the fear of lack. And it's funny how we don't realize how much of that we have until, and we don't realize what we're doing until it's brought to our attention. And so just noticing what we're noticing, I think, is so important in our lives. And I'm just really starting on this journey, but it sounds like you're going to like noticing, so you can notice. And I commend you for that. It's something we can do. And I also want to say,
Are you with Daniela Ortiz? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate the words and appreciate you being everywhere. That every a call that I do, I see you on there. So I super appreciate you supporting and holding the space for me in everything that I do. So thanks. All right, 5 more minutes. Anybody wants to share anything, or I just flipped open? Actually, if anybody is following the workbook lessons, today we are actually on lesson 5, which I actually really love. Lesson 5. It's January 5th, and I will make another run at doing a lesson a day for the whole year. So we'll see. It has never happened. I've always missed it. But lesson 5 is I am never upset for the reason I think. This is such a shot to the ego, right? It's just like, I'm never upset for the reason I think. The ego's like, what do you mean? I know why I'm upset. I'm upset because this person didn't do this, X, Y, Z. I'm upset because she talked to me in this way. I'm upset because she forgot about me. I'm upset because they didn't include me in this conversation. Whatever it is, I'm never upset for the reason I think. So today's practice, if you don't have the book, you can actually just look this up online too. There is an app called ACIM Remind. So I'm on that again. All right, the furthest I've ever made without skipping a day was 74 lessons. So, let's freaking go. Lesson 5, I am never upset for the reason I think. This idea, like the preceding one, can be used with any person, situation, or event you think is causing you pain. Apply it. Oh, wow. Thank you, course. I have so much to use this on. Apply it specifically to whatever you believe is the cause of your upset, using the description of the feeling in whatever term seems accurate to you. The upset may seem to be fear, worry, depression, anxiety, anger, hatred, jealousy, or any number of forms, all of which will be perceived as different. This is not true. Until you learn that form does not matter, each form comes from a proper subject for the exercise. Becomes a proper subject for the exercises for the day. Applying the same idea to each of them separately is the first step in ultimately recognizing they are all the same. So interesting that the Course also puts it in that way, because the Course talks about separation. So then separation is really to the purpose. What is separation for? Is to ultimately recognize that everything is the same, right? When using the idea for today for a specific perceived cause of an upset in any form, use both name of the form in which you see upset, the cause of which you ascribe to it. For example, I am not angry at blank person for the reason I think. I am not afraid of blank for the reason that I think. All right, so today we can just keep this in our mind. I am not upset for the reason I think. I am not angry. I am not afraid. I am not jealous. I am not judging, whatever it is. I am not feeling guilty. But again, this should be substituted for practice periods in which you first search your mind for the sources of the upset, the sources, quote unquote, of the upset in which you believe the forms of the upset which you think result, right? So you want to search your mind for the person or the things that you blame, and then what is the experience, and then you're going to say, I'm not upset. Yes, ACIM remind. In these exercises, more than in preceding ones, you may find it hard to be indiscriminate, and to avoid giving greater weight to some subject than others. It might help to proceed the exercises with this statement. There are no small upsets. They are all equally disturbing to my peace of mind. There are no small upsets, guys. They are all equally disturbing to my peace of mind. Then examine your mind for whatever is distressing you, regardless of how much or how little you think it is doing so. You may also find yourself less willing to apply today's idea to some perceived sources of upset than others. If this occurs, think first of this. I cannot keep this form of upset and let others go. For the purposes of these exercises, then, I will regard them all as the same. Then search your mind for no more than a minute or so, and to identify a number of different forms of upset that are disturbing you, regardless of the relative importance you may give them. Apply the idea for each of them today, using the name of both the source of the upset as you perceive it, and of the feeling as you experience it. Further examples are, I am not worried about blank for the reason I think. I am not depressed about blank for the reason I think. 3 or 4 times during the day is enough. So one term here that I want to bring out is identify a number of different forms of upset that's disturbing you, regardless of the relative importance that they... Okay, apply the idea today for each of them, using the name of both the source of the upset as you perceive it, right? It's not saying it's actually the source of the upset, but the source of the upset as you perceive it. Right. So if we don't say as you perceive it, we miss out on that. It's kind of like me saying, I'm going to make her a princess instead of she is a princess. Right. Okay. That is today's thing. Lesson 5. I am never upset for the reason I think. All right. Well, thank you. Today has been such a great call. We've laughed, we've cried, we've, shared vulnerably. And so thank you each for your participation, your contribution to this space. And look forward to seeing you guys on Wednesday. Much love, much peace. See you guys later.
Love you, brother.
Love you guys.